79 sports mentoring students, and welcome to the 79 sports mentoring isolation lecture. Today we're going to be covering some anatomy and physiology, some preparing for a career in sport, and we'll also be looking at the fitness training and programming assignments that you've got due in. I'll also touch on the practical S&C session, which I'll be uploading onto YouTube later today. So structure for this lecture. So I'll go through the anatomy and physiology assignment due in on the 7th of December. We'll also touch on some future assignments that are due in, so such as the fitness training and programming assignment, which is a 6-week training plan, due in on the 16th. I know a lot of you guys have done that already, but I just want to kind of refresh your memory and make sure that you're going to have that ready to be uploaded for that date that I've just said. We're also going to be looking at the preparing for a career in sport assignment, which is due in on the 18th. I know there's a lot of work due in, but the focus is getting one assignment done at a time. But yeah, I just want you to be aware of everything in regards to that. At the end of the lecture, I'll once again go through the 4-week training plan, which is due on the 2nd of December, making sure that you guys are completely ready and understand what is required from you. So the assignment due on the 7th of December, which is anatomy and physiology, and it focuses on energy systems. A lot of you guys have already designed that poster, but what I'm going to need you to do is I'm going to need you to present that. We were going to present it just within class, but what we're going to do now is you are going to record yourself presenting it. So it could be an audio recording that goes alongside your poster presentation, or you can actually use your phone, link it up to a computer, and then record you talking through the stuff. I don't need to see your faces in it. Okay, all I need is to hear you talking through that presentation. So the energy system poster needs to have highlight the areas of aerobic energy systems, lactic acid energy systems, and phosphocreatine energy systems. So again, the phosphocreatine energy systems are things that last, up to 10 seconds, so 0 to 10 seconds. Once you've gone through the phosphocreatine system, you move on to the glycolytic, the lactic acid system, which lasts anywhere between, 1 to 2 minutes. And then after that, we move predominantly into the aerobic system, which lasts, 3 minutes and onwards. Which is what we're going to be focusing on. So once you've highlighted those areas of aerobic, lactic acid and phosphocreatine, what I'm going to need from you is I'm going to need details in regards to the fuels used, the amount of adenosine triphosphate that's produced, and the byproducts and recovery time of those different energy systems. You must also describe how the energy system works together to provide a continuous supply of energy. And I'll go into more detail about that when I've got a worked example for you in the next slide. So let's pick on Becky. So if Becky was going to do a pre-recorded presentation, she might have both of her assignments up on a window much like this. And she might start it with, "Hello, my name is Becky Bainbridge. I'm a 79 sports mentoring student, and my presentation is about energy systems and how it relates to my sport, golf, as well as the sport of other athletes." She'll then go in to talk about the 3 different energy systems. So she might start talking about the 3 main energy systems that convert chemical fuel into energy are the phosphocreatine system, and she'll start talking about that phosphocreatine. She can read it off that poster. Once she's done that, she moves on to the lactic acid system, and she'll talk about that, and she'll provide the sporting examples. And once she's done that, she'll move on to the aerobic energy system and give an example of aerobic energy systems, and maybe a little bit of information about the mitochondria. Once she's done that, she might talk about chemical fuel. What exactly is ATP? And she might mention that she's got some references for that. So she's covered all her bases, but she hasn't actually related it to her sport. She hasn't said how the energy systems factorize in her playing golf. So then she might go on to talk about her and her golf. So she might say, "My sport, golf, I spend a lot of my time in the oxidative or aerobic energy system when I walk around the golf course. However, I move into the ATP PC system when I explosively hit the ball." We've got to remember that an activity isn't purely ATP PC or purely glycolytic, or purely oxidative? Let's use Becky hitting that ball from the tee on her first round of golf. Initially, she's in the ATP PC because she's working explosively, but there will be a time where she'll move, even though it's briefly, into the glycolytic phase, as she's slightly out of breath from that big hit. And then she'll move swiftly into the oxidative or aerobic stage as she's recovering and she's walking to the next shot or the next hole. Now that you've got that kind of clear in your minds, I'm going to talk to you briefly about the fitness training program, 6-week training plan that's due in on the 16th of December. This does not need to be anywhere near as detailed as the 4 training sessions that you've just done. What I need you to do is I need you to think back to your experience on the 79 Sports Mentoring course and think about 6 weeks worth of training. So maybe your first training session with me, spanning all the way to the half term, and how you felt and what kind of activities you did. It doesn't have to be exact, but it has to be kind of informed. I'm going to use Ellie as an example. So this is an example of week 1. So you're thinking back to your first session at 79 Sports Mentoring. So Ellie might say, week 1, my first training session was really hard. I felt really out of breath. Some of the mentoring students are really fit. We did, and you might want to say, we did some sort of training session, you can make it up. And I've done this thoroughly. So we learnt the deadlifts, and then I did a Metcon. So we did aerobic conditioning in our Metcon, and what we did was 21, 15, 9 of deadlifts and kettlebell swings. So that's a Monday session done. You've highlighted kind of what you did, the activities that you performed, but you didn't go into too much detail. Next session might be, for Ellie, it might be a Tuesday netball training session. You might talk about what you focused on, and you might talk about maybe 1 or 2 drills that you did as a result. Next session might be again with me on the Wednesday. Okay, and for example, I've put the second session with my coach involved burpees. The burpees we had our chest touching the floor. I mentioned that Ellie didn't like burpees, and also that we learnt the goblet squat and did a Metcon, which was an AMRAP, so as many rounds as possible of 10 goblet squats with a 16 kilo kettlebell and 10 burpees. You might want to say how long that was for, so maybe for 8 minutes. You might want to add some extra information after that. So as you can see, I begin to structure each day. So we know what happened on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but it's nowhere near the same amount of detail that I required from those 4 training sessions. What that would look like is this would be completely full all the way along here for this document. Okay, so if I'm going to be honest, it probably took me about 10 minutes to get to Wednesday in regards to that training plan. So you're probably looking at 20 minutes per week of work in order to fill it in. I've uploaded this on Excel onto Teams. I've also uploaded a Word document onto Teams as well. So you just click on the assignment, Fitness Training and Programming 6-week training plan, in your assignment section, and all this information will be ready for you to use. If you want to do handwritten, again, I'm completely fine with that, but it must have exactly the information that I've highlighted for you in this document here. So the next thing we're going to move to is the Preparing for a Career in Sport Employment Opportunities booklet. It's due in on the 18th, which is the last day of college. I need you to be aware that it is a long way off, but we need to be thinking about it and we need to put some stuff together. So it's going to be a careers guide for performance sport, and it's to inform school leavers, okay, about potential employment opportunities to them. The employment sectors that I've asked you to investigate, and we've done this numerous times in ICT lessons, but we're going to look at sport and exercise science, sport, media and marketing, performance and excellence, so becoming a professional sports athlete. So, for example, Lily May, it's a very real thing that you're going to be turning pro. So what do we kind of need in order to get into that area? Military and outward adventurous activities. So Agbalate and Bertie, you're joining the military. So what do you need in order to get into the military? And again, sports coaching. The next slide, I'm going to be looking at sports coaching as an employment sector that we might want to investigate. So for each sports employment sector, you must write information regarding Entry requirements. So what are the entry requirements to be a sports scientist, a coach, a professional sports athlete, or moving towards the military? What are the specialist skills for that particular employment sector? What are the progression opportunities? So can you move from assistant coach to head coach to sort of area manager? What's the overview of the job roles? So do you have to work with people? Do you have to prepare lesson plans? Key professional organisations. So for example, coaching, the professional organisation that you would look to get advice would be UK Coaching. And sources of further information. So website information that you use in order to get this information regarding the following points above. If you're looking at key professional organisations for professional sport, that would be your NGB. So it might be GB weightlifting, England boxing, etc. Once you've done that, you're going to also make links to how these jobs have a positive impact on. So if you were talking about sports coaching, how could it have an effect on rise of obesity? So more sports coaches mean that more people are engaged in physical activity, meaning a reduction in obesity. Development of technology, so it might be, with the rise of technology at the moment, you could do remote coaching, so you could coach through mobile phones and things like that. You could send programs electronically. Economic development, so if you become successful, you might employ more people, more coaching, upskilling these people, less people jobless in that result. And then funding, so is there any government funding that sort of help coaches get into coaching? So it might be college courses, etc. The last thing we're going to go over is the fitness training and programming 4 times training session. First things first, please click and re-watch the link, because I've actually gone through this and it should be pretty self-explanatory what you need to do. However, I'll go through it again. So basic info, you are required to produce a 4 times training session plan covering the following areas: cardiovascular training, resistance training, flexibility training, speed training. There are going to be 4 one-hour sessions, and it's going to be an example from maybe week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. And it's for an athlete in the off-season or pre-season using principles of general physical preparedness, GPP. If you don't know what GPP is, type in general physical preparedness into Google and look it up. So you must make sure that you use the FIT principles. So you need to incorporate frequency, intensity, time, and type into your training. You must also include a range of exercises, so not using the same exercise over and over again. The order of exercises, such as you don't do your conditioning first because you'll be too tired to do your strength stuff afterwards. The exercise intensities, so what are you going to be lifting, what weight, what percentage of your 1 rep max. The repetitions that you're going to be using, if you're going to be focusing on strength, it should be 3 to 8 repetitions. If you're looking at muscular hypertrophy, it might be 8 to 12 to 15 repetitions and 15 plus for endurance. And the sets and reps between each exercise. So I've given you a document like this on Teams. Okay, I've uploaded it and we can go through it. So you can write this program for yourself. So client name might be George Holland, and the instructor would also be George Holland himself as well. In the warm-up, okay, you can see that I've put jogging as a warm-up. I've put the time 5 minutes. I've put load, easy pace. Okay, not going to have any rest because you're only going to be doing it once. The frequency is 1, so you're only doing it once. And I've said breathe through your nose. It's going to increase a little bit of difficulty and uncomfort. You might want to move on to say things like skipping for your next exercise. Could be a minute, whatever. And you might want to do some sort of mobility stretching in order to get yourself ready for the strength and power component. So as I mentioned earlier, strength and power would be 3 to 8 repetitions. What we focused on was a power movement, which is the clean. 3 reps, load 60 kilos, rest 60 seconds, frequency 5 times. So you're going to do 3 reps at 60 kilos, rest 60 seconds, and you're going to repeat that 5 times. And the extra information would be, what would you say as a coach? So I would say, for example, to Sam, fast elbows, get those elbows through and nice and high. You might want to pick, so you've picked a pulling movement, so the next one might be a pushing movement. So you might want to pick a squat, similar rep schemes, okay, and you might want to be chest up as your extra information. As you've moved through your 4 exercises, you're going to move to the cardio. So looking at the cardiovascular training, we've got the rowing machine. It's going to be 8 minutes on the rower. Level 5, probably moderate to hard pace. 2 minutes rest, and you're going to repeat that 3 times. And I might say, extra information to make it moderately hard. Try and get your heart rate to peak at 180 during your 8-minute rowing session. Please be mindful that the cardio, you might only want to put 1 or 2 things for cardio, because this session's got to be for an hour. And if you look at that, if you're doing 3 lots of 8 minutes with 2-minute rest on the rowing machine, that's already half an hour of just cardio-based stuff. If you take into account the strength and the power and the warm-up and the cool-down, that might not be all the cardio that you're going to be doing today. For those of you that don't have access to a computer, just your mobile phones, I'm more than happy for you to upload a paper version. So Ben's uploaded his paper version. I've got an example of my one. Obviously, we're going to highlight it, make it bright and colourful, and present it as best we possibly can, so that it's attractive. It's an attractive product for myself to look at and for the external examiners to see. You need to make sure that your work shows progression. So, for example, we're talking about different exercises. So you might want to change your movements around. So you might want to pick a shoulder press, on the second session instead of a bench press, or a deadlift in the second session instead of a clean. They're similar movements, but you're showing that you're using variation in your training. Again, we're talking about that progression. So you might want to also increase the time that you are skipping, in your warm-up from maybe 60 to 75 seconds. That shows progression. Or you might want to increase the load that you're lifting during the strength stuff. So on a clean, that might be moving from 50 kilos in week 1 to 50 kilos in week 2, just to show that you're looking to improve, you're looking to push that athlete forward. So just to clarify, this is kind of what I want. And if you've got a paper copy, you might want to add things like athlete aims on a separate sheet. You might want to put the age, the height, the gender, etc. on a separate sheet as well, so that we've got all the client's information necessary for them. This is kind of what we're going to be working on over the next week or so. I'll go over and highlight key bits as well. I will also be uploading a training session for you later on this afternoon. I'm just working on editing that probably after our meeting today, and you can have a go at that either this evening or on Tuesday. Guys, you're doing really, really well. If you need anything, contact me through Teams. I'm not going to be on WhatsApp that much, but I'll be checking on it occasionally. And I really look forward to sort of catching up with you guys at 12 o'clock.